welcome to Magazine Monday. In April, I am going to be reading an article every Monday from one of the magazines that we carry. And today I'm going to be reading from Bitch magazine, Glamour issue. You can find that at iridaeza.com, and we have a few other issues on there for you to check out as well. This issue is all about their take, Bitch's take, on glamour and all of the contributors' take on glamour. And so there's a lot of really interesting and against the grain things in here that I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot of us can relate to. They get really honest, and it's a really beautiful issue. So with that, I'm going to turn the camera so you guys can just see the article here. Alright, and so yeah, the article that I'm going to be reading from is called Glamour Shots, and it's a interview with the woman who created the hashtag Hospital Glam. And so there will be some questions from Bitch and then answers from Karolyn Gehrig. Okay, so Glamour Shots. Hashtag Hospital Glam pulls back the curtain on disability and beauty by Anna Hamilton. Self-portraits by Karolyn Gehrig. Doctors' offices and hospital rooms aren't the first locations that come to mind when we think about glamour. After all, glamour is often associated with both beauty and health, and there has long been a disconnect between these concepts, and medical offices, ongoing treatment, and disability. Los Angeles-based artist Karolyn Gehrig is working to change the relationship between glamour and disability through her hashtag Hospital Glam. In 2014, as Gehrig navigated a downturn in her health, as well as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a genetic disorder that targets connective tissue, she began taking striking photos of herself during medical appointments. Gehrig uses her phone's camera, carefully chosen outfits, items found in the medical space, and poses influenced by fashion photography to capture unglamorous moments. By providing a way for people with disabilities and chronic illnesses to represent themselves within what Gehrig terms an often alienating medical environment, hashtag Hospital Glam encourages chronically ill and disabled people to reclaim a photographic gaze that has often been used against us. Any person with a chronic illness or disability can contribute to hashtag Hospital Glam, as long as they abide by the rules that Gehrig has created for the project. For instance, the photo must show the person in a clinical environment, a doctor's office or medical office, not in the bathroom or in the car on the way to the appointment. Hashtag Hospital Glam has become a rallying cry for over the past 5 years as other chronically ill and disabled people have used the hashtag to share their own images. Currently, there are more than 8,000 posts on Instagram that use the hashtag. I spoke with Gehrig about how much hashtag Hospital Glam takes glamour in a much needed direction. On that note, I'm going to sip some tea, and I forgot to invite you guys to just sit back, maybe make a cup of tea, and just settle in as I read to you here. Okay, so the first question from Bitch to Karolyn Gehrig here. Why did you create hashtag Hospital Glam? It's hard to point to one thing aside from getting sicker and knowing I'd be in the hospital more. My diagnoses were complicated, and it was extraordinarily difficult to assemble a team of doctors to work on these issues. I was aware, due to my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis 11 years prior, that as a white femme my experiences would be influenced by my appearance. I was heading into my new challenge with a considerable amount of privilege. Selfies began flourishing online around 2014. I'd lost my studio, and I was watching many disability rights activists die. I felt like every death was sending the disability rights community backward, and we had to fight harder to regain ground. I created the hashtag Hospital Glam project because I didn't know if my health was going to stabilize, and I wanted to make something with a specific set of rules that could act as a springboard for other projects. You've said that hashtag Hospital Glam uses the conventions of fashion photography to reclaim the medical treatment space. When did you become interested in fashion photography, and what's been the biggest challenge in putting the two together? Fashion has a fascination with medicine, so it has never felt like a stretch. Hashtag hospital glam refers to both healthcare status as a luxury good and the way traditional poses of illness are used to sell health and beauty back to us. Reclining bodies, models hunched forward with limp arms, slicked hair, and physicality that mimics disease. These images both distort the image of disability and give both doctors and patients an idea of what they should look like, what they should look for in a patient, while the patient is stuck in a feedback loop of media images. When I had a health complication at the beginning of 2014, I lost weight and my physicality was closer to a conventional ideal. I thought I might lose my hair as well, so I bleached it blonde to skew even closer. The biggest challenge is getting a shot with lighting in the exam room in under 2 minutes without referring to a screen between frames. Influencers use external lighting setups outside photographers and check their shots. People think my shots take a long time to set up or that they interrupt procedures, but my focus is on my care. The photographs are done very quickly. Once I put the phone down, I don't look at it again and use the rest of that time to focus on my body and the space around me. I use a silent repeating timer on a phone to take the photos. It's all very difficult to pull off from a technical standpoint, which is why it's so cool when people participate. Working with my body under such limited constraints forces me to focus on what is happening in the space around me and gives me an ownership of the frame. I don't have time to check the images before my doctors come in. They're entering my workspace and we start working on the shared task of my health. If it's a procedure or some other testing, I think of the images as simultaneous imaging of my body or an autopathography. Taking photos is always a lower priority than what's happening in the doctor's office. In procedures, I often photograph the process of medical imaging. Creating this alternate record supplements my medical history in an intimate way that gives me agency. How often has the communal aspect of hashtag hospital glam influenced the project? How has the community response influenced your artistic process? A year after I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos, Christine Miserandino wrote The Spoon Theory. In the years since, I've watched the Spoonie community develop, evolve, and become commodified by people outside the community. When I started hashtag hospital glam, I was conscious of the way Spoonie had become a catch-all for invisible illness and issued a clear set of boundaries for the project, so hashtag hospital glam would not be an all-purpose label or spiral into a tag for anytime someone felt attractive. I also trademarked the hashtag to stop people from using it to capitalize on patient labor. In art school, we went through freshman foundation. Part of that included these intensely restrictive legacy projects that teachers issued for years with the same instructions, never getting the same solution. The hashtag hospital glam process is structured similarly. If the project is restrictive enough, people will create more projects and tags to boost visibility and move toward depicting our lives in a more complete way. There is always room for more of us. Could you talk more about how people outside of the chronic illness and disability justice movements have co-opted patient identities and labor and some of the consequences of that co-optation? People have used patient-generated ideas and material to market pharmaceuticals and basic consumer goods. But what really stuck with me was the way hashtag cripple punk was separated from its very defined values, adopted as an aesthetic, and then used to market products. At the same time, Tai, T-A-I, the very young disabled trans activist and creator who helmed the hashtag cripple punk community, struggled physically, financially, and emotionally. When disabled people are working to create things for the rest of our community, that labor should not financially benefit people who haven't contributed to the health and growth of those projects. I have no problem telling people who don't participate in hashtag hospital glam that they can't sell or promote goods using the tag, which mocks capitalist desire. And with that, I'll end with this quote that is pulled out of the article. Sick and disabled people are responsible for our conceptions of glamour. We work ourselves to the bone and then erase what we've gone through to get there. #HospitalGlam aims to give voice in a integral way. So I'll go ahead and show you some of these images here that she has done. So here's her. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me this week. Go to iridaeza.com and check out the issues we have, and I'll see you next week for another reading. If you're local on Guam, stay tuned for a pop-up coming in May so you can see all of these magazines in real life, and I hope you have a great day.